Hello everyone. I'm truly lucky to have you here. My story doesn't have much drama or a fast pace, so I hope you can take your time, relax, and enjoy it. If you don't find it interesting or have any suggestions for improvement, please leave a comment below so I can make each video better. Once again, thank you so much for being here. Wishing you a relaxing time with Moonlitwest. Have you ever stepped out of your comfort zone, breaking free from the boundaries set by yourself or societal expectations? In the world of bees, all rules are predetermined. They are born, they collect nectar, they protect the hive. No one questions, no one challenges what is already familiar. But what if one little bee dares to do things differently, to break free from the routine and fly to places no bee has ever ventured before? Zippy didn't want to live like every other bee. When a mysterious light appeared in the twilight sky, he faced the most important decision of his life: stay safe or take a leap into the unknown. Beyond the Hive is not just a story about a journey, it is a reminder of what we can achieve when we dare to step beyond our familiar limits. So what about you? Are you ready to fly farther? And now we invite you to listen to the story Beyond the Hive. Deep within the lush green forest, on the outskirts of Seattle, hidden beneath the sprawling branches of ancient oak trees, lay a vast beehive, a place where thousands of bees worked tirelessly, never stopping. The air hummed with the symphony of life, tiny wings fluttering endlessly as the bees diligently gathered nectar from the fields bursting with color. Amidst this strict order and discipline, there was one small bee with a grand ambition, Zippy. Zippy was unlike the other bees in the hive, while all the others followed the path set for them: born, collect nectar, protect the hive. Zippy burned with an insatiable curiosity about the world beyond. Since he was young, he had always flown farther than necessary, hovering over wildflowers, not just to gather nectar, but to observe, to feel, and to imagine the distant lands that lay beyond. He was captivated by the vast sky, where the sun rose from misty mountain peaks and set behind the deep blue ocean. But within the hive, dreams like his were seen as pointless, even dangerous. You are just a small bee, Zippy. Our duty is to collect nectar and protect the hive, not to daydream about the world out there. An elder bee had once sternly reminded him when he caught Zippy gazing at the sky instead of working diligently. Despite the reprimands, Zippy could not suppress his excitement. How vast was the world beyond the hive? Were there fields of flowers yet to be discovered? What wonders might be waiting? One late afternoon, as the sky shifted to the golden hues of sunset, Zippy hovered near the edge of the hive, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Suddenly, he saw something he had never seen before. Far away, beyond the misty green mountains, a shimmering light flickered in the sky. It wasn't the glow of the sunset, nor the reflection of water. It sparkled like a lone star in the wilderness, something mysterious and alluring, as if it were calling out to him. Zippy's heart pounded. He had heard of the legend of the star bloom, a flower that only bloomed once, every 100 years, glowing like a radiant jewel atop Skycrest Peak. But those were just old stories. passed down by elder bees, a forgotten myth no one truly believed. It existed, but Zippy was different. He had seen it with his own eyes. Unable to contain his excitement, Zippy rushed back to the hive, searching for the elder bees to share his discovery. But instead of excitement, the other bees only laughed. A glowing flower. Zippy, you're imagining things. Daydreaming again? You should focus on gathering nectar. Do you even know how far Skycrest Peak is? No bee has ever flown there and returned. You'd exhaust yourself halfway. Their mockery did not discourage Zippy. He knew there was something out there, something more important than the limits the hive had imposed upon itself. That entire night, Zippy lay awake, his mind racing. If he didn't go, no one would. If he didn't explore, that flower could vanish for another 100 years, and no one would ever know the truth. A decision was made. As dawn broke, Zippy looked toward the horizon, his tiny wings trembling, not with fear, but with anticipation. He no longer had any doubts. He was going. No one in the hive knew that on that day, a tiny bee had left the safety of his home, embarking on an impossible journey, an adventure that just might change the world. If you are enjoying Zippy's journey, take a moment to relax, close your eyes, and imagine yourself soaring through the vast sky where mysteries are still waiting to be discovered. Don't forget to like, to support the story, subscribe so you won't miss the next adventures, and help our channel reach 199 followers. Just click on the logo in the bottom right corner to see the subscribe button. Every follow you give is a pair of wings that helps Zippy fly farther, and it also gives me the motivation to write even more exciting stories. Thank you sincerely. The sun had just risen, its first rays piercing through the clouds, casting a soft golden glow over the forest, still damp with morning dew. Zippy fluttered his tiny wings, feeling the cool breeze brush against his body. He had traveled farther than any bee in the hive, leaving behind the safety of the familiar flower fields to push forward toward the distant mountains that loomed like a mystical painting flying through the treetops. Zippy looked down below, where the endless green forest stretched out before him. Tiny streams wove through rocky slopes, shimmering like silver ribbons. His heart pounded, not with fear, but with excitement. He had never felt the world so vast before, but as he drew closer to the mountains, Zippy suddenly felt a powerful gust of wind strike him sideways. The air began to tremble, the winds howling like distant screams, bouncing off the cliffs. In front of him, Grand Windy Gorge came into view, a deep chasm between towering rock walls, where wild, furious winds roared day and night. The gusts were so strong that even the largest leaves were ripped away, swirling in miniature tornadoes. Zippy hovered in place, searching for a safer path, but there was no other way. If he wanted to continue his journey, he had to cross this whirlwind-filled canyon. He took a deep breath, his wings quivering, then dove forward. The moment he entered the gorge, Zippy felt as if an invisible hand was yanking him backward. The wind lashed against him, knocking him off course, making his tiny wings lose control. He struggled to stay balanced, but the constantly shifting gusts tossed him into a spinning vortex. A cold rush of air sent him plummeting downward, nearly colliding with the jagged rocks below. Panicked, Zippy flapped his wings as fast as he could, trying to regain balance. But then, something flickered in the corner of his eye. A small figure, a creature, also caught in the swirling winds. It was a silver butterfly, its delicate wings entangled in the chaotic air currents, spiraling helplessly like a fallen leaf caught in a storm. Zippy didn't hesitate. He darted toward the butterfly, flapping his wings forcefully to close the distance. "Hold on to me," he shouted, but the winds were too loud, swallowing his voice. He had only one option: get closer. Seizing a brief moment, when the wind calmed slightly, Zippy tilted his body, circling around the silver butterfly, trying to find a way to free it. The butterfly looked exhausted, its shimmering wings trembling weakly. Zippy reached out, using his front legs to gently pull one of its wings out of the chaotic air currents, then immediately pushed both of them away from the vortex. Another fierce gust swept through, but this time, Zippy was ready. He quickly caught an upward draft, pulling the butterfly along and escaping the danger zone. The two tiny creatures burst out of the gorge, soaring into the open sky. The silver butterfly gasped, its wings shaking. It looked at Zippy with deep gratitude. "You saved me," it whispered, its voice as soft as the wind. Zippy smiled, feeling an unfamiliar warmth bloom in his chest. "I just couldn't let you get swept away like that." The butterfly blinked, then slowly regained its strength. Its wings started flapping more steadily, glistening under the sunlight like they were made of silver, reflecting every ray with dazzling brilliance. "I'm silver," it said, its voice calm yet firm. "I've been trapped here for days. The winds in Grand Windy Gorge are too strong. I couldn't escape, but thanks to you, I can fly again." Zippy glanced toward the horizon, where the taller mountains still awaited. "I'm on my way to find the star bloom," he said. "I don't know the way, but I have to find it." Silver hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "I know a safer route," it said. "If you don't mind, I can guide you. Consider it my way of saying thank you." Zippy beamed. "Then let's go together." The two tiny creatures, a brave little bee and a graceful silver butterfly, soared side by side, leaving behind the wild, roaring winds as they continued toward their next adventure. In the distance, Skycrest Peak stood tall, silent, as if waiting for its mysteries to be uncovered. As the sky gradually shifted into the golden hues of twilight, Zippy and Silver glided over a vast meadow. Ahead, the outlines of city buildings slowly emerged, their rooftops glowing under the fading sunlight. Winding asphalt roads cut through carefully arranged gardens, while cars rushed by like flowing rivers of metal. The air felt different, no longer as wild as the forest. Silver slowed down, flapping her wings gently before landing on a high tree branch at the forest's edge. Zippy landed beside her, curiosity shining in his eyes. "I can't go any farther with you, Zippy ... Silver said, her voice tinged with regret. Zippy frowned. "Why not? We've come so far together." Silver shook her head slightly, the last rays of sunlight reflecting off her shimmering wings. "The city isn't for me. I'm not used to the noise, the rigid concrete roads, or the tightly packed buildings. Butterflies like me need wildflowers, fresh breezes, and open forests. Zippy understood. Silver belonged to the untouched wilderness, to places where light filtered through leaves, not where humans built houses and paved over the earth. Silver smiled, touching Zippy lightly with the tip of her wing. But you can do it. You're a quick, clever little bee. Find the star bloom, and if you can, come back and tell me everything you've seen. Zippy felt warmth spread through his heart. He nodded firmly with determination. Absolutely, Silver. I will come back. Silver stepped back toward the tree branch, where the soft light wrapped around her wings. She flapped them gently, like a silent farewell. See you again, Zippy ... Zippy took one last look at her, then turned toward the city ahead. No one was beside him now, but he knew he had to continue this journey alone. With a powerful beat of his wings, Zippy shot toward the towering buildings, entering the world of humans, where new challenges awaited. Leaving the whirlwind behind, Zippy could feel his tiny wings growing more and more exhausted. The furious winds had drained much of his strength, yet excitement still burned in his chest. Ahead, the dense buildings rose against the horizon, nestled between scattered trees and endless paved roads. This was the human city, a world entirely different from the forests he had always known. Zippy circled in the air, his tiny eyes widening to take in the sight of the colorful rooftops, the charming little gardens, and the courtyards bursting with flowers. Unlike the wildflower meadows of the forest, the gardens here were neatly arranged, glowing with dazzling blooms he had never seen before. The air was filled with the sweet scent of nectar, beckoning him forward. A particular garden ahead caught his attention. The radiant flowers stretched upward under the sunlight, their vibrant colors so mesmerizing that Zippy couldn't resist. He lowered his altitude, slowing his wings, then gently landed on an orange petal, inhaling the rich, fragrant scent. But the moment he touched it, a strange sensation spread through his body. His wings suddenly felt heavy. A peculiar numbness crept from his legs, all the way to his tiny antennae. He tried to flap his wings, to lift off, but weakness dragged him down. Everything blurred, as if a toxic mist was enveloping his small body. Zippy panicked. What was happening to him? A faint breeze drifted past, carrying a different scent, a strong, acrid chemical odor. And then he realized these flowers were not natural. They had been sprayed with pesticides. A wave of terror crashed into his mind as he struggled to move his wings, but they no longer obeyed him. He swayed unsteadily, then lost control, plummeting downward. He tumbled onto the warm ground, rolling across the pavement. He tried to regain his strength, but his legs trembled so much that he couldn't stand. His vision blurred, and for a brief moment, he thought this was the end of his journey. But then, a gentle voice rang out. Oh no, look, a tiny bee. A small pair of hands carefully lifted Zippy. The hands belonged to a little girl with soft blonde hair, bright blue eyes like a summer sky, and a warm, kind smile. Don't worry, I'll help you, she said, her voice full of concern. Zippy felt himself being placed inside a small glass jar, but there was no sign of danger. Instead, he felt warmth, a sense of safety. The girl carried him inside her house, setting him down on a soft cloth and carefully dripping a drop of honey into his mouth. The sweet nectar washed over his tongue, bringing with it a surge of new energy. Slowly, Zippy felt his strength returning. His wings began to quiver slightly, and his vision cleared. "You're looking much better," the girl beamed. "I'm Emma. Where did you come from?" Zippy flapped his wings lightly, still feeling weak. "I'm on my way to find the star bloom," he said. Emma's eyes widened. "Wait, what? You know about it too?" Zippy blinked in surprise. "Too? What do you mean?" Emma tilted her head. "My grandpa used to tell me stories about the star bloom. It grows on Skycrest Peak, a faraway mountain where no one has ever been. If you're looking for it, that means you must be really brave." Zippy's heart pounded faster. He wasn't alone in believing in the legendary flower. After resting for a while, his wings finally felt strong again. Zippy flapped them, hovering around the cozy little room, relieved to know he could continue his journey. "Thank you, Emma ... Zippy said. "But now, I have to go." Emma smiled, then walked over to the window and opened it. "Be careful, and if you find the star bloom, come back and tell me all about it." Zippy nodded and darted out, but just as he soared through the open air, something sticky and elastic suddenly stopped him in midair. A spider web. He panicked, struggling as the strong, silky threads clung to his legs and wings. From the corner of the fence, a city spider emerged, its dark, cold eyes fixated on him. Its round belly shifted as it crept toward its trapped prey. He couldn't let himself get caught. Zippy thought fast. He started beating his wings furiously, creating rapid vibrations that shook the web. The intense movement tricked the spider, making it believe that something much bigger had landed in its trap. The spider hesitated, uncertain, seizing the moment. Zippy flapped even harder. The final strands of silk loosened, and with a sharp yank, he broke free, escaping just before the spider could seize him. He flew away as fast as he could, racing past gardens and brick-paved pathways. But the challenges weren't over yet. Ahead of him, a wide road stretched out, filled with cars speeding by at dangerous speeds. He had to get across. Looking around, Zippy spotted a large flock of butterflies passing through. Without hesitation, he swiftly blended into the group, using the air currents they created to reduce wind resistance. Below, cars whooshed past, their wind gusts slamming against his tiny wings. But he stayed steady, keeping himself safely nestled within the flock. And then, after several tense moments, he made it to the other side. Zippy looped through the air, glancing back at the city, where Emma still stood by the window, waving goodbye. He had survived, and now he knew his true destination. Without hesitation, Zippy shot toward the horizon, heading for Skycrest Peak, where the star bloom awaited. But the sky atop Skycrest Peak stretched endlessly before Zippy, the full moon hanging overhead like a luminous pearl. His wings trembled with exhaustion, but nothing could stop him now. His long journey had taken him through raging whirlwinds, pesticide-laden city gardens, and deadly spiderwebs in the dark forest. But now he stood at the sacred mountaintop, the place whispered about in legends. Zippy glided past jagged rocks, moving cautiously through the shadows. The mountaintop was eerily silent, only the soft breath of the wind slipping through the cracks of the stone. He slowed his flight, his heart pounding in his chest. An almost sacred presence filled the air, as if this place belonged to another world, a world that only revealed itself to those who were truly worthy. And then he saw it, the star bloom, nestled in a small crevice, hidden in the darkness. The legendary flower was there, but it was nothing like the stories. No radiant glow, no shimmering petals like scattered stardust. Instead, the flower was withering. Its petals were pale, drooping as if drained of all life. Zippy blinked, a wave of shock rising in his chest. No, this can't be. He moved closer, landing gently on the fragile petals. A faint warmth pulsed beneath him, but it was weak, fading. Something about it felt familiar, a life on the brink of extinction, waiting to be saved. Then a voice spoke, not from the air, not from the mountains, but from within his own mind. "You have made it here, but do you truly understand why?" Zippy flinched, glancing around, but there was no one there. The voice was coming from the flower. "You have heard the legend, haven't you?" the voice whispered, like a passing breeze. "But no one knows the truth. No one knows that I can only bloom when gifted the offering of a courageous heart." Zippy froze. An offering? A courageous heart? He looked down at the flower, realizing that its nectar was still there, but it did not glow. It was waiting for something. And then he understood. This flower was not simply a miracle. It was a test. Another voice echoed in his mind, but this time it wasn't the star bloom. It was his own thoughts. "You can drink my nectar," the star bloom murmured, "and you will become the strongest bee, the fastest flyer, fearless of anything." Zippy's heart pounded harder. He had come so far, overcome so many obstacles. With just one drop of nectar, he could return in glory, with power never seen before. No one would ever mock him again. But if he did that, Zippy looked down at the fragile flower. No light, no life. And suddenly, he remembered everything he had been through. Silver, who had guided him through the sky. Emma, the kind-hearted human girl who saved him from poison. Every challenge he had faced, every time he had nearly lost his life, all to reach this place. He had not made this journey for himself. He had not come this far to seek greatness, but to discover and protect the beauty of the world. Zippy took a deep breath, and then he lifted his tiny leg and gently placed a drop of his own nectar into the center of the flower. The moment it touched the core of the bloom, a brilliant light erupted, but the light did not come from outside. It came from within the star bloom. The petals trembled, shifting from pale to shimmering silver, then from silver to golden light, glowing like stars in the midnight sky. The wind on the mountaintop stirred, carrying golden pollen into the air, scattering it across the heavens like tiny sparks painting the night. Zippy stood still, completely mesmerized. The flower continued to bloom, and from its heart, a single drop of nectar formed, not for the greedy, but for the brave. Zippy saw it, and before he could react, the drop of nectar rose into the air and merged into his own body. A surge of energy exploded through every cell inside him. His wings shuddered, and he could feel them, lighter, stronger, faster. He didn't just feel powerful, he felt one with the vast sky, as if nothing could hold him back anymore. The star bloom pulsed one last time, then its glow softened, fading into a pure, ethereal silver. The voice whispered one final time, this time as gentle as the wind itself. You did not choose power for yourself, so I give you wings that can touch any place in this world. Zippy blinked, feeling his new wings vibrate with energy. A small smile appeared on his face. He had found the star bloom, but more importantly, he had found himself. Without hesitation, Zippy launched into the open sky, soaring into the vast expanse, his wings glowing like a tiny star in the night. The clear blue sky stretched endlessly before Zippy as he raced toward his hive. His speed outmatched any bee in history. The wind roared in his ears, the scenery below blurring into streaks of color. For the first time in his life, Zippy truly felt like he belonged to the sky, no longer bound by the rules that once held him back. But there was one problem. He wasn't used to his new jet engine. Seconds after spotting his hive, Zippy realized he couldn't slow down in time. With a thunderous crash, he slammed straight into the hive, sending a violent tremor through the entire structure. Several worker bees clung desperately to the honeycomb walls to avoid being knocked over. The golden honey inside the hexagonal cells trembled, nearly spilling over. Inside the hive, chaos erupted. "Alert! Alert!" a guard bee shouted. "Intruder detected. A glowing object just crashed into the hive. Someone call the security team, now." A small bee clung to the hive wall, his eyes wide with terror. "Mom, is it a lightning bolt?" An elder bee, his long antennae trembling, stammered. Could it be Zippy's spirit, returning to demand honey as repayment? Amidst the floating wax dust, a small figure emerged, glistening under the sunlight. His wings trembled slightly, dusted with a mystical silver shimmer. Honey still clung to his body, but Zippy's face was radiant, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Hello, everyone. I'm back." The entire hive froze. Every sound came to a halt. Eyes blinked, antennae twitched. Then, after a brief silence, "Oh my gosh, is that Zippy? No way. He left the hive days ago. He really made it back." The bees swarmed toward Zippy, surrounding him like he had just returned from an intergalactic journey. A guard bee squinted suspiciously. "You're saying you flew all the way to Skycrest Peak? That's impossible." An older bee shook his head. "There's no way. He must have just gotten lost and made up some story." Zippy simply smiled. No need to argue. He would prove it. He flapped his wings hard, transforming into a streak of light, zipping around the hive in less than a second. The wind whooshed through the trees, causing the leaves to shudder violently. The entire hive gasped. A tiny bee dropped the droplet of honey he had been holding in his mouth. "He flies like lightning." A guard bee stared at Zippy, his voice shaking. Could it be he actually made it to the star bloom? Zippy grinned, took a pinch of the glowing pollen from his body, and gently let it fall onto a flower nearby. Immediately, the petals ignited in a radiant glow, silver light drifting into the air like tiny stars. The entire hive erupted in awe. "Unbelievable. The star bloom is real," a bee murmured as Zippy recounted his journey, braving the fierce winds of Grand Windy Gorge, surviving the human city, escaping from the deadly spiders in the dark forest. The hive fell completely silent. "I didn't drink the star bloom's nectar," Zippy said. "I chose to sacrifice it to save the flower." A young bee mumbled, "Whoa, that's some deep philosophy." But this time, instead of mockery, his eyes were filled with admiration. In the following days, the hive buzzed with excitement like never before. Young bees suddenly became fascinated with the world beyond the hive. Conversations about uncharted lands spread everywhere. One afternoon, as Zippy rested on a flower, a small bee shyly approached him. Hey, Zippy, can you teach us how to fly fast?" Zippy blinked. Behind the tiny bee, a long line of young bees waited eagerly, their eyes shimmering with curiosity. "Yeah, you fly like lightning. Teach us. How do you beat strong winds? How do you dodge spider webs?" Zippy chuckled. "All right then, from now on, I officially open Zippy's Speed Flight Academy." Soon, the hive became the greatest pilot training center in bee history. The young bees learned how to accelerate, navigate obstacles, and some even started planning to fly beyond the familiar flower fields. One evening, as the golden sunset bathed the hive in light, an elder bee approached Zippy and asked, "So, what do you plan to do next?" Zippy stretched his radiant wings, a mischievous gleam in his eyes. "Maybe I'll go on another adventure. Who's coming with me?" The hive fell silent. Then, one small bee hesitantly raised his leg. I guess I can try, but is there a rest stop along the way?" The entire hive burst into laughter, and with that, a new chapter in the hive's history began. And so, Zippy's extraordinary journey came to an end, but not as a conclusion, rather as a new beginning. From a tiny, ridiculed bee, Zippy had become a living legend, inspiring others to dream bigger, fly farther, and explore wonders beyond imagination. Zippy's story is not just about courage, it's about believing in the impossible. Sometimes, the world outside our comfort zone is vast and terrifying, but with enough determination, we can find miracles anywhere, whether on a distant mountaintop or deep within our own hearts. Thank you for following this story all the way to the end. If you believe that every journey brings something wonderful, like subscribe and help our channel reach 199 followers. Every single subscriber not only helps this channel grow, but also gives Zippy another pair of wings to continue his adventures across the vast skies. Thank you so much. See you in the next story.